a little bit more deeply into how and why we do things, because we live in very interesting times right now, not just because of the political climate, but more so from a technological standpoint and the implications that some of these new technologies have. I want to talk about why we work on the problems that we work on and why we think they're so important for not only the people who are paying our bills, but society in a much broader standpoint. This is one of our main unifying concepts, and it's about this idea that story is how information has been transferred between humans for thousands of years. So we think that narrative is very important. The asterisk is that we don't quite know whether or not it's important for machines. And actually, I was talking with a DARPA program manager 2 days ago. They're looking at drone swarms, so 50, 100 drones and quadcopters and flying things. And if you have one person trying to control 100 things, it turns out that's not a very simple thing to do. So they're devising all these algorithms, and they're worried about command and control. And I trotted this out, and I said, you know, for any mission that you go on, there's a story behind that, and there's a story that you're trying to tell. So can you actually think about a drone swarm as a bunch of actors, and the person who's controlling the drones is the director, and he's working from a script. So it's actually a pretty powerful metaphor that he instantly got, and he's like, you got to send me white papers, we want to throw money at you. We like that. Increasingly, the popular press is really focused on immersive technologies, and that's what I'm going to talk a lot about, because that's one of the reasons that we were stood up. The question mark is that we don't know how sticky immersion in and of itself does things. We do know that things like VR profoundly break linear narratives. So traditional storytelling models just flat out don't work in VR. I don't think they ever will, and I can get into philosophical arguments for those of you that disagree with me, because I love to be proved wrong, because I'm a scientist at heart. I used to be a chemistry professor in a previous life, but I've been doing new media since the mid-'70s, when I did computer-controlled slideshows and stuff when I was in high school and then right out of college. So we've been thinking about these things for quite some time. I'm big on conceptual models. In chemistry, the conceptual models that you probably learned even in high school chemistry, if you want to sort of brave the depths of your brain to go back, apologies if your chemistry education scarred you for life. There are a lot of bad chemistry out there. But you had a model for the atom. You probably learned the Bohr model, which is you've got a nucleus and electrons rotate around it. Before that, there was the Rutherford model, which was kind of like pudding, like bread pudding. You had positive and negative. And then you had quantum mechanics come along. Those are all conceptual models. That's not what an atom really looks like. But it's a way for us to understand how it works and why atoms behave the way they do, because then we can start to predict other behaviors and do interesting things. So I'm big on conceptual models. Technology breaks time and space, and it's been doing it for quite some time. The printing press took an oral tradition and turned it into something that was now durable. It wasn't just what was said and then I had to remember it. I could read it over and over again, and it was portable. It could be transported more cheaply than stone tablets coming off of a mountaintop. Then, in the 20th century, you had two main mediums come online. First was radio and then television. Those completely changed every aspect of society. I get reporters asking me pretty much on a daily basis, what parts of the business world are AR and VR going to touch? The answer is all of them. It will change every aspect of every piece of your life in one way or another. You may not have direct contact with it, but indirectly you probably will be touched. By the way, the Betamax was made up until December of last year, and I just saw that the last VHS VCR was made this month. No more. So all those VHS tapes, you better convert them to digital. You're not going to have any people playing them all. The 21st century, and I slide back to 1995 to include that, was the beginning of digital. And digital changed everything in ways that we still haven't quite figured out yet and that we're still sorting through. So you can make the argument that all of this stuff is just going to be situation normal, we'll figure it out. A little bit later I'm going to show you a slide that should give you some information as to why digital is different than analog and why the 21st century is going to be different with regards to technology uptake than the 20th century is. So we've got all of this stuff. Is this what our world is going to be like? This was actually a commercial for a Swedish telecom company. I gave a talk at Chiat Day Advertising Agency and met the guy in the blue hat. And I showed this video, and he came up to me after the talk and he said, "That was me in that." Which was an interesting kismet. That's why I always credit who did this. So this is what the person's seeing. And all they've done is a third of a second visual delay. So right now the VR is the darling of the popular press and it's the darling of a lot of industry, but is this what our future is?